And here's the irony of it. We're not waiting on the universe is waiting for us. The hardest part is getting out of the way. So everything you want right now, everything true heart's desire, not ego desire, but true heart's desire is like available right now. And the universe is just waiting for you to do.
Jennifer Taylor is the COO of Quantum-Touch, Chief Magical Officer, and she is going to share how to combine Quantum Touch with business. And we were just kind of talking about how a lot of us, and I know this is my story, we come across Quantum Touch, we experience the healing within, we get amazing results. We want to share this with everybody. We become a practitioner, we become an instructor, and we're really good at the energy work, but we don't realize about the building a business part and what it takes to build a business. So maybe, Jennifer, you can talk about that. So someone's really excited, passionate about Quantum Touch, they learned about it, they became a practitioner. What would be their next steps of creating a successful business?
Well, that's a great question. And one of the things that I think can help people realize is that business isn't necessarily separate from energy healing. You can use energy healing on your business. And I think when people are dealing with numbers and profit and loss and, taking payments and things like that, it's really hard to stay in your heart and deal with numbers. That's what I've noticed. One of the things I think people can do is get used to opening their heart in situations that are typically kind of stressful, such as looking at your bank account, looking at your credit card, trying to market your business. Yeah, I think that's one of the things that can help a lot. And with running a business, there's a couple of aspects to it. One is just the basics, such as taking payments, how to manage and work with clients, how to keep in touch with people. And there's also how do you grow? How do you get your name out there? How do you promote? And there's a lot of different avenues for all of this.
I think, because I know even for myself, it's like I set that intention that I am now a practitioner and I want to help people. And I set that intention that I am ready to receive clients, and then I don't. For me, it then became a journey of, obviously I didn't understand the business part of it. So then I would ask myself, what part of me doesn't feel that I can accept clients? Or what part of it is blocking? And I think a big part of that is what part of me is resistant to learning the business aspect and sharing this work at a greater scale.
That's a good point. I think a lot of people feel intimidated or they don't enjoy technology. And a lot of business now uses a lot of technology. Even something as simple as taking payments, it's all usually online. And so for people who don't enjoy computers, there's this kind of resistance. So, oh no, I got to learn a new piece of software. And I think one of the things to realize is that you can either hire people to help you or you can learn it yourself. So you don't have to do it all by yourself. You can generate enough income to hire people to do things you don't want to do. Or a lot of software these days is easy to use. And so just trying to do a baby step, like today I'll create a login, or today I'll figure out how to take payments, or today I'll just do one little step towards my goal. I'm a big fan of baby steps. Another big thing to consider is that when it goes to promoting your business, there's seemingly millions of different ways to promote a practice. And I believe that if you open your heart and you ask the universe, what is the most inspired way that I can promote my practice? That's your path. So if you don't like social media, I don't feel like you should force yourself to do something you don't like to attract clients. I believe that if you open your heart and ask the universe will say, here's something that would inspire you to attract clients. I personally like technology, but that's not everyone's path. But I ask Quantum Touch a lot. Quantum Touch is like a creature. It has its own energy field. So I open my heart and do energy healing on the business. And I ask, what's my next step as the owner and COO of Quantum Touch? How can I best serve the community? And I get answers, ask and you'll receive, you'll get those answers. And sometimes it is about your personal growth. Sometimes it's feeling unworthy or these issues of personal growth. And sometimes it's just action steps. I would love to believe that I could meditate on my couch and just sit here in the lotus posture and just attract millions of dollars by doing nothing. But I really believe that we have to meet the universe halfway, that we do need to take action in addition to working with our energy field. So it's kind of both. I don't think it's just one or the other. So I don't think that traditional marketing tactics without involving your energy works very well for energy practitioners. And I don't think just using energy without taking any action works. I think you got to integrate the two.
Well, and I really love that because I feel like even for my age, it's like social media is where it's at. You need to be active on Facebook, active on Instagram. And that doesn't necessarily align with me, but there's so much of that pressure of like, oh, okay, well, if I'm going to be a successful business owner, I need to do that. I guess kind of like what you said, I didn't actually say what's the most inspiring way to market it, but I realized that there was this disconnect that I wasn't always talking about my business and I wasn't seeing myself as a business owner. I was kind of treating it like a hobby. And once I started stepping into that kind of business owner role, seeing myself as it is a business, then I found the ability to talk about it came easily. And it just weaved into everyday conversations. Like I had to file taxes and the accountant's like, can you remind me, what exactly do you do? And then she starts asking me how it could help her. Like, would it help with this? Would it help with that? And I'm like, absolutely. And I'm explaining it. And it turned into this really beautiful conversation with someone I definitely did not expect to have this conversation with. And then a couple days later, we had a birthday party and someone had arrived. And right away, they started asking me, how's your business going? And it caught me off guard because I had never openly talked about my business with this person. And once again, it was this beautiful conversation. And I was just blown away by how now this is becoming my reality. So how much does creating that intention of what you are creating play into the building of the business?
Intention's kind of an interesting one. I believe that having a clear goal is really important, or having a clear series of goals. But sometimes if we write this goal down of, I'd like 20 clients a month. I'd like to do this full time. I'd like to quit my other job and do this full time. And then how does that really feel? Like if you visualize it and there's something in you that starts to put resistance up, that's the internal part. So maybe you feel like, I don't deserve 20 clients, or I'm not good enough to have clients, or you might see your own resistance come up when you visualize what would that look like. I think visualization is a really important tool because it can step into it and see, do I really feel like I'm a match for this, or am I kind of get in my own way of doing this? So like if you want 20 clients a week and you visualize it and you open your heart and you picture how that would look like, and then a part of you is just, I don't know, maybe not. That's something that you have to work through. And maybe that's the wrong goal. Maybe you can ask the universe or all that is, or energy, like what would be in the highest good for me to do? And I like to do that. And I'll give an example for Quantum Touch. Last year, I set the goal that I want to grow Quantum Touch. I thought the universe would, provide instructions on promotion and marketing, but that's not what the business suggested. The business came back and said, well, to grow Quantum-Touch, the first thing you need to do is fix the logo. The logo is broken. It's a JPEG. It doesn't work. You can't put it on anything. So you need to fix the logo. And that surprised me because I thought it would be a completely different set of instructions. But then I endeavored to fix the logo. It took about 8 months to create a new logo that everyone really loved. Sometimes the direction may surprise you when you ask the universe what's in the highest good. And sometimes it's annoying because I didn't really want to go back and change the logo and spend all the time doing that. And I want to just proceed with let's grow, let's grow, let's grow. So we have to also be patient and create the foundation, because the next step was equally annoying a little bit. Is fun too, because the universe said, you have to write your mission statement. We never really had a mission statement. Now, if you go to the Quantum-Touch website, you'll see our mission statement. We just wrote it. It took about another year to write our mission statement, and I involved a lot of staff with it. And it just building that foundation. So sometimes the universe may say your next step is to change how you take payments or do some of the infrastructure stuff. So that's why I like to listen to the next step, and it's very individual.
So then I guess the part that was coming up for me is there's that element of letting go of our attachment to the outcome. Right?
There's a little bit of that. Well, I mean, if you're attached to how something should manifest, it removes the magic. So if I thought, okay, I want to grow Quantum Touch and I think it should happen by doing A, B, and C, that may not actually work because it's just my monkey mind thinking about how to grow a business. Not all problems can be solved mentally. In fact, many problems, especially things that people are stuck on, require a energetic approach to move over certain set points or humps. So if I had told the universe, well, I think it should grow by doing this, I'm probably wrong if I'm trying to think it. So if I open my heart and feel it, and the universe says, no, you got to do this first. So it's just removing your attachment to how things should go about, just like with healing work. We think we know how the body heals, but I think it's a big mystery. I think there's so much involved in healing that it's incredible. So we have to rely on the innate wisdom of the universe and the body to heal itself, and not like our monkey mind saying, well, I just need to cut out soy. That may not be the answer. So we let the universe kind of help us and guide us, and the universe meets us halfway by listening to the steps that the universe puts in front of us.
That's really cool. So how are other ways we could use Quantum Touch to grow our business? What would you suggest to somebody who wants to now grow their business?
So the first step I would do is ask the business how to grow, because you have to think of the business as a creature, as an entity. And so, like, let's say you have a pet. The pet will give you, let you know what it needs to thrive. And pets are pretty amazing that way. It'll tell you when it wants food. It'll tell you when it wants snuggles. It'll tell you when it wants to take a walk. Same with the business. So what I like to do is I put maybe your logo or the business in between my hands. I'm really a fan of Quantum Touch Level 1, just breathing and sweeping. I'll run energy in the business, and then I'll open my heart and listen. And usually then the picture or the image of the next step starts to formulate. Maybe I hear it. I'm kind of I get my information, just download. It just appears into my head. However you get downloads from the universe, that's what I do. But you can start by just running energy into whatever represents your business. And I think every step is different, but that's how you use energy healing, running energy and getting the answers.
Well, and then as you were saying that, what came to mind is like, okay, so now we have this successful business, but first of all, what defines successful? And then what are we doing with that? And I guess why I asked that is because what came up for me is, okay, well, what is your definition of successful? And why do you want a successful business?
And that's something that's really great, because you may not define success in terms of money. It may be in terms of how many people are you serving. For me personally, I don't want a mansion or a boat or a yacht or my own plane or any of these, super crazy expensive toys. I just want to have a nice business where everyone involved feels like they're winning, like it's a win-win scenario that we're serving, that people love being involved, because my definition of success is community, and that people actually enjoy working with Quantum Touch, that everyone's happy to be here. So if I can create a business where every instructor is happy, every employee that works with us is happy, and we have this really beautiful community, and I can still buy a home and do some of the things that I want to do, to me, that's success. But I don't want to buy a mansion. I want to buy a nice, comfortable, quiet home. So for me, that's what it means. I think everyone's different, but just checking on what success is to you, I think, is the first step, because that's how you get your vision. So maybe your business creature said, well, define what you want first. And that's awesome.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what was coming to me as you were talking about that. So then how can let's kind of pivot then to personal finances. How can we use Quantum Touch to help personal finances, whether we have debt or we have saving goals, or we're saving up for the house, or there's that thing that we want?
Oh, great. This is a juicy topic, and I have a lot of things here, because about, let's say, how many years ago? 7 years ago, I was buried in a mound of debt, maybe 8 years ago. I think it was like over $100,000 of unsecured consumer debt. And I sat back with that and I thought, this is not in alignment with who I am. I'm not the type of person that owes money to people and feels stressed about money. This is not where I want to be. I sat within and said, what within me is out of balance to create a lifestyle where I'm just going deeper and deeper into debt? Money, personal money on one hand is really simple. Spend less than you earn so that you can pay off debt and save and invest and do that. And that's not what I was doing. So something in me was out of balance where I was always kind of living above my means, even though my means are pretty decent. But that was the irony of it. I talked to some people who have incredible means and they're still kind of going above their means a little bit. And it's like, why? And so I had to ask the universe, running energy into myself of what within me is creating this imbalance and understanding my own spending habits. And one of the exercises I did was I pulled out a bank statement, where all my charges went through of everything I was buying and my income. And it was just my checking account and also my credit card account. Pulled out the bank statement, ran energy into myself so I could open my heart. Again, I don't think it was a problem I could solve with the monkey mind. Open my heart, and then looked at my bank statement line by line within my own, expanded energy field, which you can do when you do quantum touch to expand your energy field, and said, does this resonate on each time I spent money? Does this resonate with the highest good? And most of the things that I was spending money on didn't resonate at all with my highest good. I wasn't even spending money on things I loved. And that was the first step into getting my expenses under control, because I realized, wow, I'm not my highest good. I'm not in alignment with how I'm spending money with my highest truth. I don't need all that stuff that I'm buying, because I'm at heart not really a stuff person. I'm a kind of a minimalist at heart. I don't really think worldly possessions really do much for us. And yet I wasn't living in alignment with my truth. So I think that's a really valuable exercise for people who are maybe in debt and not able to save, is pull out your bank statement, feel into each, don't think, but feel into each expense and sit with it. Say, does that resonate with my highest good, my goals, my highest truth, my life mission, all of it. And you'll be surprised at how much doesn't align if you're living beyond your means. You may even see a line item called mortgage and think, wow, do I love where I live? Maybe not. Maybe you do, and that's not the issue there. But you can kind of get this internal sense, like, is that expense like really even in alignment with what it's worth to me? And I did that with, I did it with Quantum Touch's profit and loss statement. I sit there with every single expense and all the different income coming in, and I say, is that aligned? And the universe will say, well, look at this expense right here. This is not aligned with moving Quantum Touch forward. Take a look at what you're doing here. And so I have to say, okay, why am I doing that? What's going on here? And personally, it worked. I paid off all the debt and I saved a lot of money and started investing. It really did work. I lived below my means. One example, I always bought new cars and had a car payment. And I always liked that new car smell, but I realized, a car isn't really that important to me. It just gets me from point A to point B. So now instead of, having a car payment, I paid cash for a car, a used car, and it gets me where I want to go. It's a nice car. It's not a fancy brand new car. It's just a nice vehicle. And that was one thing that really shifted, because then I no longer have a car payment, and then I can use that money. I use that money to pay off debt and invest instead of paying, a bank. And so just some examples there.
Yeah. So would you say that kind of brings up stories about your beliefs about money and how that plays out? Because I think a lot of this is just unconscious for us until we become aware of it.
Yeah. A lot of like sitting in the energy and doing the energy work is bringing what's unconscious to conscious. And so I was spending a lot of money out of ego. A new car to me represented some sort of I don't even remember now why I was doing that, but it was some sort of ego thing. Like, I feel like I'm a better person because I drive a new car. Childhood wounding was responsible for some of that. Or, well, I need that new pair of shoes so I can feel better about myself because I have low self-worth. And so my shoes make me feel like I'm a better person because they're brand new and they're sparkly and they're beautiful. So a lot of my spending was ego based. I wanted people to have a good opinion of me. The funny thing about it is I realized that most people, they're not even thinking about you. You know, we're not that important, right? Like, that's really ego to think that everyone in the world is thinking about what I'm wearing. I mean, where is that? That I had to realize that I was doing a lot out of ego and low self-esteem, and I didn't need to reinforce that anymore.
Oh, absolutely. And then, like, even talking about cars, I think it's really important that you get clear on your intentions or your priorities. Like, I know for us, we switched to driving a standard car because it's more fun. So we have this standard car and we love driving it. It's fun. It's a Honda Civic. We've had it for 7 years now. That thing is still going strong. We finally replaced the brakes. Like, it's fun. So I guess using quantum touch to really become aware of those stories that you're telling yourself, or and what you said, your self-worth, because I've been thinking a lot about that since becoming more with receiving unconditional love. And it's like, where am I feeling there's conditions on the love or my worth? And can I receive unconditional love?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've seen that happens with practitioners of any modalities is that they feel unworthy. Like, oh, well, I'm not perfect. How can I help other people? Because I have all this weird stuff going on in my life. I think if we wait till we're perfect to help someone else, we're never going to help anyone because there's no such thing as perfection. It's just a pipe dream. And another thing that I've seen people do incorrectly is they use their business to prove their worthiness to other people rather than we are vehicles to provide value. Because really, business is the value you provide to the marketplace. And it doesn't matter what you look like or how much money you have or any of that. Your goal is to provide value to other people and to serve other people. And that's your focus. And so when we kind of shift it from like, oh, I'm not worthy to, oh, I can provide a lot of value to the people just by being who I am and all the stuff that I've gone through and everything that I've learned and all the training. And that's where the focus, I think, needs to shift to whenever we get into those self-worth, oh, I'm not worthy stories. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
And that was coming up for me last year, this winter, really diving into the why do I need a successful business? Like, what is that need? And seriously, yeah, it's the proving the self-worth, the proving that this works. And once I just step back from that, it's powerful. And I think the becoming more has definitely amplified that, and really becoming aware of how I'm holding scarcity and even playing with time, because like I would notice that I would be running up the stairs if I had to get something upstairs. And I'm like, why am I running upstairs? Why do I not feel I have the time to walk upstairs? And I was just becoming aware of all these ways I was holding scarcity and then trying to control and force. And why am I trying to force and prove myself and all of that? It really does become this internal journey too. And with that, I've noticed clients and students come and the concerns and the challenges they're having then surface in my own life, or I'm experiencing it in my own life. And it's like we get to walk through it together. And then I wonder, is this really just creating a paradigm shift on business?
I think a lot of what turns people off to business is, we've seen a lot of businesses that try to manipulate people into buying their products. Really pushy advertising, interruptive marketing. Some businesses will take your money and not even provide or own up to their promises. And so I think when a lot of people think about sales and marketing, their energy field kind of shrinks. And they feel like, I don't want to participate in that evilness. And I'm sure we've all been victims of companies that have taken our money and not have provided for us, or people trying to sell people products that are not in their highest good just to make a sale. And so I think that's the paradigm shift. I think there's enough business, enough money, enough for everyone around the world, as long as it's balanced. Because I don't believe people need multi-million-dollar mansions. I believe we all just need nice places to live. So I think there needs to be some balance to the needs as well of what people need. So I believe if you want to create a balanced life, a happy life, too much stuff, but you have to maintain it all. Just have a nice balanced lifestyle, and you can attract clients by just being honest and authentic about what you can provide rather than trying to push something on people that they don't need or want.
Mm-hmm. Well, and then my other part is I am in love with this technique and I want to push it onto people because I think it's going to help them. But then how much of me is that my ego, and how much is I need to accept that people will come into this work. They will find me when they are meant to find me, and really just surrendering in that aspect.
I think that people, this may not be the right solution for everyone if they're not resonating with it, or that maybe they're not ready, or they're on their own. Even though I think it's amazing and everyone should do it, many people are not really there yet. And trying to force them to be ready when they're not isn't our job. But I believe we just put out the information, people who resonate will resonate. There's enough clients for us to have a really wonderful lives. And really people need to feel like this is it for them.
Well, and then what I realize is anytime I create something, the energy at which I am experiencing when I create it is then imbued into whatever it is. So if I'm in a state of like, I need to send out this email because I need people to register for a workshop, and it's like that kind of like forcey, then it's going to come across in the email. And I realize, oh, how would I just run the energy, open my heart, see what words come through? And it's so funny because I'll write an email out to my list and I might have an idea of what the topic is. And I'll put that in the subject line. I'll start writing about it. By the time I get to the end of the email, the subject has changed. And then I'm like, okay, well, now I need to redo the subject line because I didn't even talk about what I thought I was going to talk about. And I find that really interesting, but then that just feels better for me to share. So that's one of the things that I've been discovering.
Well, one of the things to notice too is you felt inspired to have a mailing list, which is awesome. I think that's a great tool. So you're taking action. So you're not just sitting there on your couch, in the lotus posture saying, students come to me. And maybe that I do believe that has a part of it, but you are taking some action with your community. And I think that really helps to attract people. So you're putting the authentic message out there, and then people who resonate are coming. And I think that's basically the whole idea of what sales and marketing really is just connection. You're creating connection, authentic connection.
Yeah. And I always make these rules in my mind, like I'm going to send out the email every Tuesday morning or whatever it might be. And it lasts like a week or two because it really becomes this, I get this idea or this message or something comes through me and I'm like, I want to share this. And this is how people can get involved. And that is the energy at which I'll send out my emails. So they're not structured by like day of the week. But then I think about, well, what is time? Why do I have to send out at that weekly frequency at Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock? So then I play and I allow myself to kind of go with the flow.
You said a really fun word there called play. Like, I think it's really easy to think this all has to be super serious and, now we got to do business, and it's energy can be really playful. Like whenever you do a session, there's like you're adding like a nice playful high frequency energy and working with your client, and it can be play. It's supposed to be fun. And in fact, I think play is something that allows us to detach from outcome. If we're kind of like, oh, this is fun, and we're playing, it's very lighthearted. And then all of a sudden when it comes to business, we're like, okay, now I gotta get serious. And like, we gotta do this, like it's a totally different energy. And so when you say like, oh, I just want to share something playful and I want to play and connect with my community, I think it really changes that frequency of energy that we're putting out when we're not being super like, okay, business has to be this super constrictive thing. It can be like a fun, lighthearted way to connect with your community. So we just have to reframe the whole idea of business. With Quantum Touch, in the past, I used to be super serious when it came to business, and I'd be, oh no, now I got to do this thing. But then I love the energy. So it didn't really match the frequency of energy work, business. Now it's like, oh, I get to have some fun. I'm going to have fun making a logo. I'm going to have fun doing these things. It's going to be a fun thing. And I've had fun and I made it fun. And to me, it doesn't have to be serious. It can be really fun to work on your business.
Yeah. And I think there's a business, definitely having a business model and a framework is important to have that strategy. But then when it actually comes to implementing it, because this is one thing I realized, I had thrown a bachelorette party for my sister and I made this invite on Canva. And it was so fun. I loved the invite. I thought I was really creative. I did a really good job. I would look at it and I would just admire it. I loved it. And it resonated really well. And then I start working on my business and I'm creating all this stuff and I'm like, I don't feel like I'm connecting and I'm like trying to force it. Like, how can I do it? I'm like tearing my ideas apart. Like, how can I do this? And then that's when I realized I'm creating it from this really awkward energy of like not being authentic, feeling I need to be this business version of myself. And it just wasn't fun. And then I would create images and I just didn't even want to look at them. And then I kept thinking about that one invitation for my sister. And I was like, that was fun. Like, what if I could create with that energy and add it in here, shifting the how I do the business stuff.
Yeah, I mean, why can't it be fun to create a message for your community? And why can't it be fun to go to Canva and create some really cool graphics that you put in your newsletters and have fun with it? And I love it when you do something you create for the business and you get to sit back and admire it for a while because it was so much fun, and that's the really people feel that. They're like, oh yeah, that person crafted that with this high joy. And then everyone feels that you're transmitting energy in your marketing materials. And I think that's really important to realize. Make it fun and exciting and stuff that really resonates with you because it'll resonate with all the people attracted to you. I think we've been told a lot that you have to be serious and you got to have follow some formula and there's these business structures. I don't think it works very well.
Yeah, and I think a big part for me is identity too, because I didn't grow up in the energy healing environment, if you will. I had no awareness of this prior to Quantum-Touch. And then I felt like I needed to be this person or show up as this person. And then it's like, okay, well, it has to be a business. I'm like, okay, well, now I need to be a business owner. And I just tried to be these people it wasn't me. And it didn't feel good. And I kept being like, why am I doing this? Why am I trying to be this person? And the other thing I really noticed was I felt like I wasn't communicating what I wanted to because I was communicating from a space of this is what I should be saying, opposed to, well, this is what I believe, or this is what I know to be true, or this was my example or my experience.
I hear you on that one. I hear you on that one. This is why the mission statement for Quantum-Touch took a year, because I thought, okay, what should you say in a mission statement? And then last week, I'm like, you know what? I'm trying to use all these weird words and how a business agent should be. What do I really want to say about Quantum-Touch? Like, I listened to Henry, I listened to Miriam, I listened to Richard, I listened to a lot of people who had input, and I felt it all, and I said, everyone's trying to tell me, what I want to take all this input and say what it is, not some corporate weird speak, right? And so when I finally got my heart and said, and I listened to everyone and said, well, this is what we're all about. And I finally wrote it and it just clicked. I'm like, yeah, because this is real. This is authentic. This is really, for me, like what Quantum-Touch is about and what everyone has been saying we're about. And we don't use corporate weird speak, right? We're just, this is us. It felt so good. I freed myself from having to say things or do things that weren't really authentic. I'm like, no, that's not what I want. And that's why I had so much trouble with the mission statement, because I was trying to fit it into some model that really didn't fit. So I totally agree.
mentioned in the beginning, it's really just dropping into that heart space. And I mean, were these business models created from that heart space that we're now trying to put this heart space into?
Well, I think ultimately, so people are people, they're not numbers, they're not cash, they're not impersonal, right? A lot of today's business practices, like let's say Facebook, Apple, and Amazon, try to convert real human beings into little computers. There's not a lot of connection, right? It's all about revenue. But when we put heart into it, we recognize that we're working with connecting to real people. We're not using AI bots to connect with people. We're being authentic. And I think that's where some of the marketing goes wrong, is they just look at people in terms of, well, here's your acquisition of numbers type of thing. And they're people. They're not numbers or little computers. They're like, you're working with people. You need to create connection. I think that's what's lacking now is, we've gotten into a world where there's all these ways to avoid connection. And really where I think, especially energy healing, we're looking for connection, heart connection. And when you can create connection from being so authentic, then people will resonate. And that's love. That's connection and love. And that's what we're about.
So what about using quantum touch if someone already has a business? So they don't want to create a business of energy healing. Maybe they already have like a brick and mortar business, or they have some other kind of service-based business. Maybe they're a tradesman, or they like a plumber, or like, how can someone incorporate quantum touch into their business?
So let's say you got a plumber, and let's say he's struggling, not really having enough customers, not really connecting to the people. So I think the best way to use the energy healing is to take your logo, do the breathing and sweeping, put it between your hands and run energy in your logo, and then listen to the universe again. And why I say that is maybe it'll connect you to the people that can help with your business. It will also maybe help with hiring. Like if you're feeling into your heart, like, is this a person a fit? Rather than does their resume look good on paper? The universe is giving you these messages all the time about how you can grow, how you can expand. What's the best way to attract the right customer? When you run energy into your business, you may get like, here's a good way to attract customers. So rather than like trying to work it out in your monkey mind again, using the energy to help you, give you the next steps.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. And I think then also is creating the connection in that, because all these other businesses are still dealing with people and dealing with connection too. And people are going to go back to a business where they felt seen.
I think people don't want to feel like they're just another number. They want to feel like, wow, this person really wants to connect with me. And a lot of people will get comfortable with a vendor and keep calling them back if they really feel like they're connected. So a plumber is a prime example. It's harder to get new customers than to just have repeat customers who keep coming to you because you provided such a great service. So really emphasizing you're here to provide value, and the universe can also help you with that. Like if your business isn't really providing value or it's kind of lacking in certain areas, the universe, the spirit, the energy will say, hey, maybe improve this part of your business. That'll help. Yeah. So sometimes, again, it may surprise you. It's not creating more social media. It's like improving your service on some level. Right. That's what I got with Quantum-Touch too. The universe said some things like, well, you need to improve a few things in how Quantum-Touch works. And so I went about doing that. So it all works together. It's holistic. And when we listen to the entity that our business is and run energy into it, it'll give us those messages.
I just heard an affirmation that said the universe is my marketing strategy or my marketing agent or whatever. No, it was the universe is my marketing department.
It's very cool because I think the universe helps. I think it can add to your energy, especially if something's in the highest good. When you're doing something that's in the highest good, it tends to flow and the universe adds to that momentum. And if you're doing something not in the highest good, it tends to be like really bumpy or impossible sometimes. So when we ask the universe for guidance with the energy work is a great way to get guidance, then yeah, in some ways it is your marketing expert.
All right. So how would you suggest someone could use Quantum Touch then to break out of a rut with finances?
So, running energy into yourself and looking at your bank statement, like your daily actions, basically, I think is key because your finances are the result of all the actions you take every day. It could also be the case that you're not bringing in enough income to support your goals, and the universe can help you with that too. So, if you're running energy into your bank statement or yourself in relationship to your bank statement or to however you track your money, and then all of a sudden the universe says, you see where your income is, the universe, and you get this hit from the universe saying, that's really not really enough income. You're not getting paid enough for what you're doing. Or here's some job opportunities that pay more. I believe the universe can help you out with income as well. I think it's really general just to say, do energy and get messages from the universe. I like to use the bank statement as a tool to kind of make it a little more concrete. So that's why I suggest that exercise, because I believe it's just a series of everyday actions that ultimately lead to our financial end result.
Well, then I guess in that respect, you could take any question you have within your business or your personal finances and then ask it to the universe for your greatest and highest good and run the energy.
Yeah. Energy work is just more about physical healing. It can be a tool to get messages from the universe when you ask questions. I like to use that. And the energy can help get you out of the head and more into the heart. So just doing, I just create I just sit here and do breathing and sweeping and just do this. And just to kind of connect to my energy field. And so I just sit there, and then from there I'll say, okay, now I'm going to answer this customer email or do my next step or just meditate on what's the next step. And rather than like, oh, now I got to go here and try to figure it out, I just sit back a little bit and wait for direction.
So if someone is feeling in a rut, and because I've noticed this, some of the things that are for me, and it's like, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't want to do it. And I feel that resistance to it, but then it happens and it's the greatest thing. And I see how I was holding that resistance and fear, like I wasn't allowing myself to expand into it. But that almost feels very similar to this is not for me. So how would you help someone differentiate between this is for me and I'm just feeling resistance because I know it's going to break me out of my safety zone, or this isn't for me?
Usually when something is for you, even though it's uncomfortable, you feel inspired by it. So underneath the fear is inspiration, and usually the inspiration is what helps you bust out of the fear, but you're inspired by the idea. Like you visualize whatever it is that you want to create, that you're feeling guided to. You love it. You're like, wow, that would be so cool if I could do that. That's the universe saying, yeah, it's a yes. And you say, but I got to make all these changes and I got to like whatever. That's the fear. But the yes is really amazing. So that's how I like to do it. If you're visualizing it, it's like, yes, that's exactly what I want. That totally resonates. Then that's the step. You're like, oh, but I got to do all this stuff. Whereas if it's not for you, if you visualize following that path, you'll get kind of like, oh, I don't really like that. It's kind of icky. It's not for you. It doesn't inspire you. I generally try to avoid paths that are not inspiring because they never lead to anything really good. If I'm trying to force myself to do something uninspiring because I feel like I should, it generally leads to ash. So I just don't even go there anymore because I've learned my lesson. I used to try to force it because I thought, oh, that's the right thing to do. I think I don't generally have timelines on inspiration because it so much relies on flow and momentum from the universe that putting a timeline on it seems to be kind of restrictive. That's again the monkey mind saying this has to happen by a certain date, but there is no time from the universe's perspective. So I don't think it needs to factor in. It'll manifest when it's the highest good for it to manifest and not a second before. But at the process of getting there is the fun part. So, but sometimes if we're impatient, it'll actually take longer because again, we're inserting our own human monkey mind into something that's much grander than us, which is the plan of the universe.
I love how you said that if we try to impose our own ideas on it, that it could take longer, because it totally flips your idea of being impatient, because I know I've gone through a lot of those storylines too of where I'm being impatient. And whenever I try and force it, and my husband would always say that, and it drives me nuts. He's like, things can always get worse. I'm like, why would you say that and bring it in? But it's true. Like if I'm really impatient with something and I'm trying to force it, normally that creates more damage to whatever it is than if I would just kind of take a step back and breathe and just move through in a more calm state.
And here's the irony of it. We're not waiting on the universe. The universe is waiting for us to be ready for something. So the impatience is generally just impatience with ourselves because there's no separation between ourselves and the universe. So you don't have to be impatient. You just have to work to be ready for the manifestation. The universe isn't going to, if something's in the highest good, the universe isn't going to force it on us when we're not really ready or a match for it, because that's when ash gets created. So for example, if you want to manifest a partner, but you're not in alignment with, the highest good, you're not going to manifest it. And that can look like, well, it's just going to take time, but really all it takes is you doing the work to get ready, because it's all available all the time right now. You just have to kind of match what's there. So they're actually, you don't even need, to be impatient. You can actually have whatever you want right now when you're ready. That's the irony of it. And it's timeless.
So really you're just claiming your highest good and showing up.
And showing up. And that's the hardest part. The hardest part is getting out of the way. So everything you want right now, everything true heart's desire, not ego desire, but true heart's desire is like available right now. And the universe is just waiting for you to do what it takes, the changes vibrationally to be ready for what's like right in front of you. And that's where the patience comes in, because I think for some of us, instant change can be really hard. So it's like baby stepping up every day towards that goal. I mean, I guess some people are capable of, maybe energy masters can like just tap into different realities, at any point. But I have not mastered that. I think I just take steps in that direction, but really the time frame is me, not the universe. We're not waiting for the universe. The universe is waiting for us.
That it just totally shifted the way I think about stuff. And then now what's coming up is like, okay, so with this transformation, and I mean, I definitely experienced this with becoming more, is the grief that comes up, the grief of the old version of who I am, or that version of who I am. And I know that if I step up, if you will, I'm going to become this new version of myself and it's going to be different. And then there's that process of grieving the past self.
I think that a lot of times what we want to manifest requires letting go more of the ego, or even our parents' messaging or friends' messaging, or things that we thought were right that have become like part of our identity. And it's hard to give that up. It's a loss. You're losing part of yourself to open up to something new. Or maybe if you change something, you're going to lose some friends, or maybe you're going to lose your partner, or maybe as you change in vibration, things that are no longer in that frequency tend to fall away. And that can be scary and a loss, because things do leave. And but new things get created. So I do agree, there is grief to change. Even if it's changing stuff that you don't even like, you're still losing something, but you're gaining something different.
Yeah. And then it was explained to me that there's always this evolution. Energy is always in motion. There's always this constant motion. So we're either moving forward or we're falling back. And even a tree doesn't decide it's just going to stop growing. The roots continue to grow deeper. The branches continue to move out. The leaves continue to grow. Nature is always expanding and moving forward. And then knowing that, for me, it felt like it gave me the permission to continue to move forward.
Yeah, we're all evolving, and a lot of stuff that comes up that seems to be negative to us, that doesn't feel good, is the universe's inspiration for us to evolve. So initially we might get little whispers that it's time to change. And then they become louder and louder until eventually maybe something less than pleasant happens that forces us to change. And then we're finally changing, because the universe wants us to grow, wants us to increase our vibration, and wants us to change. And it'll tell us exactly what we need to do. Yeah. And sometimes it's hard because some of those things we're really comfortable with. You know, like for example, violent movies. I don't do violence anymore. I don't go watch violent movies. They're part of our culture. I've done a few and now I refuse because it's the wrong frequency for me, but it's giving up violent movies. I had to give up something to get into a higher frequency, and maybe it's a small example, but maybe there's a loss there.
Yeah, but I think that's all of that is really important too. I had to give up violent movies. I give up a lot of movies because I just don't want to subconsciously receive that programming, especially harmful movies. And the intentions of them are questionable. And even for me as the news, I had to give up the news. My husband does the news, and it's kind of like this agreement. You do the news, focus on the outside world. I'll do the family, focus on the inside world. But that's really helped me too, because I don't need to fall into the fear or the propaganda or whatever that messaging is that is now going mainstream.
And yeah, maybe giving up news is a loss. That's maybe grieving in the world where watching news was once okay for you and no longer is. Or maybe it's certain foods that are lost, like maybe alcohol or the stuff that people used to enjoy. If you're increasing your frequency, maybe that's no longer in the highest good. So now you got to give that up. But that's okay. But yeah, it can be a loss because it maybe represents a different life that there were parts of that maybe that you enjoyed. So, but I think the gain is much higher and better and smoother. So I think your life can get easier and easier as you move up and change your frequency. It doesn't have to get harder, it can get easier.
Exactly. And the feeling and the knowing of that is what keeps me interested and keeps me moving forward. Because it's almost like I'm aware now of this choice point. I could just stay here and still experience at this point. But then it's almost this point of like, I didn't know it could feel this good. How much better can it feel? And it's almost this exploration in that respect. So there is that element of grief, and then I'm ready to move forward. But I do honor that part. I allow myself to feel that grief too, and then continue.
It's kind of like a healing crisis, or let's say somebody's trying to give up alcohol. There's going to be a period of time where that's painful. They may have to change their friends. They may have to stop going to bars. Their whole life, if they're addicted to something like that, may be centered around alcohol. That was the thing, going to bars and all of that. And then all of a sudden they want to change their frequency and give it up. Now, maybe alcohol is also a source of problems. Maybe they got a DUI. Maybe it creates fights and conflict. But it's a whole identity that you have to give up to move out of an addiction. And your life will be better at some point, but the transitional period could be really hard. And so I think people just, they want to stay where they're at, even though they know the other side is a lot better, because this is like really comfortable and they don't want to go through that transition period. But that's just the nature of it. And they could grieve the loss of all the people they no longer hang out with. It just can be hard, but I think it's worth it. Like you said, it's worth it.
Awesome. So let's just wrap this up. What is a final piece of advice you could give to someone who is starting out with Quantum Touch for financial abundance?
So my feeling is a lot of our issues can't always be solved mentally in what I call the monkey mind. So when you're dealing with financial issues, the idea is you can use the breathing and sweeping that we teach in level 1 and get into your heart and seeing if there's other insights that you have to solve your financial issues. And just doing the breathing and sweeping can really help. And then applying that to however you track your money. That was a big tool for me. I stopped trying to solve it with just my mind and opened my heart and seeing if I could shift the energy around my money situation.
I love that. Awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer.